Good afternoon. This is Jim Urbaneth again. Today I'd like to talk to you about something a little different than I've dealt with so far, and it is the whole experience of teaching, especially online. For the last 17 years, actually, I've been teaching at the undergraduate level. One time I taught a research methods class that was for entering graduate students, but that's a rarity because usually you're supposed to be 1 degree higher than the people that you're teaching. And that was probably a mistake by my bosses at the time. But yeah, I got through it. 10 years of that experience includes also teaching in the classroom, the standard classroom where people are actually breathing the same air. So I've got a fair amount of experience here. And 16 years of that has been with my main employer, American Public University System in Charlestown, West Virginia. And for about the last 6 years, I've also taught at the University of Arizona Global Campus. And prior to that, before it was bought by Arizona, Ashford University. And I'll say this, after Arizona bought Ashford, things got really good. It's a good experience. I'm an adjunct there, but I'm having a whole lot of fun, great students, and it's a good learning environment. Now, there are some misconceptions about online teaching that I see a lot. First of all, that there's less interaction than there is in the regular classroom. If it's done right, that's not true. In some ways, there's more interaction because in the physical classroom, there is generally a last row in the classroom where people can hide and sometimes sleep. Trust me, it's happened. Especially when you're teaching like at 8 o'clock in the morning, that they can be physically present and totally uninvolved in the classroom. And I've seen this too, where you have intelligent students who just don't want to participate. In the online classroom, there's no back row. Also, grades are dependent on not just writing a forum post for a discussion every week, or almost every week, but also writing responses to other students. So unless you want your grade to suffer, you have to speak up. And over the years too, some people have tried to get out of it just by writing a review of what the first person that they just read said. Usually it's an initial post, and the non-substantive response will have a lot of words to it. And it all comes down to, hi dude, great post. I like when you said blah, 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 blah. You made a good point with, look, Beavis, words. And it goes on like that, where they don't add anything new. So what I encourage them to do is to cut down on the word count if they have to, and make the post, make the response something that adds something to the conversation. Something that adds value, which could be an insight, additional research, additional information. It could even be a respectful objection. I read your point about blah, 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 but my view is different, and here's the evidence. This is okay. This adds value. This is a conversation, not just a blind affirmation. And it's not just saying, oh, great post, which I see sometimes when it hasn't been a great post. It's been full of misspellings and mistakes, and they say, oh, great post, I'm looking forward to more of your work in the future. Well, that adds nothing. And sometimes I've had to take people aside and privately email them and say, just add something new and don't just praise everything you see. So if they do it right, they're not hiding in the back. And if they do it really ideally right, they have to add something, an insight, a question for that matter, a follow up. And even if there is a little bit of summarization and review ahead of that question, that's not that bad. What matters more than that is the fact that there is something new, and that can be the question. So I'm fine with that. And also, too, there is a minimum number of responses they have to make. It's usually 2 or 3, and I encourage more. And this is good because, say you put up a couple that are like really short, like, yes, I think so, something like that. Then if they have the minimum number of substantive responses and they add something that's brief and doesn't say a whole lot, those brief responses are not a problem so much as a bonus. So respond like crazy. When I was an online grad student, I had to respond usually at least 3 times for each response, or each forum, I mean. And I'd be out there putting like a dozen or more, often a lot more. And I never had a professor say, oh, you're doing this too much. And I've never said that. I have never given feedback, oh, you got too many responses up there. It's like, no, great, extra effort. And as a matter of principle, I don't like to penalize anyone for anything that even looks like extra effort. So there's a reward for participation as well as a penalty for not doing it. You're not going to sleep in the back row like you did in junior high or like you have in the physical classroom when I was teaching. I don't have to throw a book at you, but I may put in the feedback, what's wrong? Why aren't you responding? You know this counts for grading, something like that. So that misconception about lack of participation, I find it to be wrong. Another misconception that I see is that online college is easy compared to the standard variety. And to that, I emphatically have to say no. If it's done right, it's nothing like the standard classroom, and it can be a lot harder. You have a lot more work each week. You don't go into a classroom, listen to the professor, probably fall asleep or get offended. You have to participate. You've got to write, usually for a discussion board, an original post, and then 2 or 3 responses, so you're always working. You may also have to do an essay or a worksheet in addition to that. Now at APUS, most of my classes, if there's an essay or a worksheet or a literature review that week, you don't have anything else. You do not have a graded forum. You may have an optional one, but you only have one major graded assignment, which is really good because students' time really is at a premium. And most online college students are adults with adult lives and responsibilities. Many of them are active duty military, and this is at both schools, not just APUS, which has the American Military University nameplate on it for most students, but you also have at Arizona, we have a lot of active duty military. And I do try to, both schools have a policy of being friendly and open to them and accommodating to their needs. And it's something that they never had to tell me. And this is a core value for me. So, yeah, there's a lot of time involved. You probably won't be able to take 4 to 5 classes at a time like you did when you were a full-time student. And you know, too, I've also got my second master's in military history from American Military University, so I've been on the other side of the line of scrimmage as a student. It's a lot more work. I've gotten 2 master's degrees, one at Duquesne, the standard route, taking 3 classes at a time and writing a thesis. That was challenging. no doubt about it. You're not going to be able to skip your way through grad school if it's a decent grad school. APUS was in some ways more challenging because it required more courses. To get a master's at Duquesne, you had to have 30 credits of graduate work. For me, it was, excuse me, 8 courses of 3 credits each, plus 6 credits for my thesis. I did not write a thesis at AMU. I took 12 graduate classes for 36 credits. More work. And there's more sustained work each week for a graduate student with no drop in the reading requirements. It is rigorous. It's not a diploma mill. It's not a social pass. You got to work your butt off in a decent online college program. And I think this is one of the reasons why some of them have higher dropout rates. It's because it does require time, it does require effort. So that's a misconception that it's easy. And people who come into the online environment thinking that it's going to be a breeze, they tend to get their butts kicked right away by reality. So if you're considering an online class, just consider that. Forewarned was forearmed. It's going to be a challenge. Now, from the instructor's point of view, there is plenty of interaction with students. You have, besides those forums, you have a lot of emails. And every time that you write something for a class, you have an opportunity to communicate with that person. And there's one reason why, as a best practice, you shouldn't be using boilerplate feedback. The only feedback I have ever copied from one to another is when they don't have any work and it says no work submitted. That's the sole boilerplate. Now, sometimes one item may look like another because I'm saying the same thing repeatedly, but it all comes straight from my head. And this is the way you should be doing it. Address the person by their preferred name. You get a lot of nicknames. Sometimes you get people who are transitioning. That's pretty rare, though. Most of the time, it's just a preferred nickname or someone going by their middle name. Often you have students who are going by a nickname. Even that's not what is on the official record and what doesn't show up on your learning management system. You call them by what they want to be called. So you personalize it. You write from the heart and the head. Feel free to cut and paste additional information, such as, okay, you wrote about this. Here's something you might be interested in, and give them an active URL to a article or a website that may be able that may be able to help them. If you have an opportunity to communicate, that's an opportunity to teach. Take advantage of it. What this translates into is that you have a lot of interaction, you have a lot more work as an online professor than you do in the classroom. It never really ends. You've got mass quantities of grading every week. Don't expect to be able to phone this in. You may end up working at all hours of the day and night, on and off, because you just don't have the energy to do it at the time that you want, or you don't have the opportunity. Maybe you had to cut the grass or something. And for some people, maybe they had to get a haircut. Not a problem for me in the last 6 years, but maybe they had to get a haircut. Their day was taken up with adult responsibilities. You've got to wait until you have time. Yeah, that happens, and that's an advantage too. It's asynchronous. That the only times that I really have to be any place in the virtual sense are for a few conference calls, maybe 2 a month. Otherwise, your time is free to budget as your own. And this is at both schools. And they tend to be a little understanding about this. Um, in Arizona, especially, they have a view towards adjunct faculty, what they term associate faculty, and I'm a member. They say, look, we know this is your second job. We know that you have other commitments that sometimes require um, time that you can't give us. And they have actually asked the question, what can we do to make life easier for you? Which is something you never hear from employers, not just in the academic field, but any place that I've ever worked, where they think that whatever you're doing right that minute is the centerpiece not just of your life, but of life in general. That their mission is your mission and everything comes behind. I have even heard of bosses sending out emails on Christmas night, something that I think is just disgusting. But it's like, we're thinking of work and you should be too. Oh, Merry Christmas. Well, go to hell. You won't hear that from Arizona. That they are very understanding of not just life work balance, but also work work balance, which is very refreshing, which is good because even though it is a part time job, grading time, especially with papers, can be rather consuming. So they're willing to make allowances. They try to build it into the system that you're not going to die and burn out, or vice versa. That's refreshing. But the asynchronous environment is good. You don't have to do Skype. You don't have, that's not around, I guess, but you don't have to do conference calls very much. You don't have the Brady Bunch conference screen in front of you on the computer. You're just doing social media um, posts and responses like you would on any other more social thread. And this too goes to something that it's something that you're probably used to from Facebook and other platforms. You'll have to go through a training period when they hire you, but the basic process is something you've been doing for years anyway. And if you're younger, you probably grew up doing this. So as a student and as a professor, the skills really aren't that much different as far as the mechanics go in interacting with people. And this is much different than the standard classroom, which is in person. Nothing is committed to the ether. That everything is verbal, and some people prefer that. But it's a different skill set, both as a student and as faculty. And it is more time consuming. It's more difficult in some ways. On the good side, too, you've got the asynchronous scheduling. Plus, everything is in writing. Nobody can take a misunderstanding, oh, he said something offensive, and just have their word for it. That you have a record on the forum of what you said, what they said, and it's a very good defense mechanism that you can teach more fearlessly, knowing that you have evidence to back you up in the event of a complaint or misunderstanding. That is something I really like. Now, of course, there's the time element. It takes more time. Also, to think of it this way, when you teach in a regular classroom, you go to most any sort of job. You come home, you can put that job aside. When you teach online, you're doing it from home, and there's no escape really. You're in your house. Generally, teaching's going to be on your mind, or you're actually going to be doing it. If you want to have time of your own, you've got to leave your house instead of coming home to it. So consider that it is going to be something that you think about a lot. There's less of an escape route, that you may have to answer emails when you're at home. You have free time that you can allocate, but it may not be as free as you expect. Another advantage too. Some of us work better alone. We're self-starters. We don't like micromanagement. Attempts to build fake community kind of fall flat. And I still think that professional community has to grow organically, and I have seen it happen, especially at APUS, where I have very good friends that I work with, only one of whom I have actually met. Hi, Carlos. And we've gone for beer and chicken wings, and most of the people I never meet, we're all over the country. But we're friends, we're colleagues, we work well together, but nobody's trying to force us into team building. It just happens. In fact, if someone tries to force us into team building, sometimes it can backfire. We had a boss who wanted everybody to attend the same continuing education course, which was on countering stress. And he got his way. We all went in there, and I think he was a little shocked to find out that he was the cause of most of our stress. Not a great boss. He's no longer with us. Well, he's still alive. Don't misunderstand that. But he has gone on to another stage in his life that does not include working with us, and that's fine with me. It was a bad fit anyway for all of us and for all of him. So you do have your friends, you do have a community, you don't have weekly faculty meetings, you might have one a month. And if the community grows up, it's organic and it's genuine. And you don't have people looking to screw each other over as much. There's no office, so there's less office politics. And I hate office politics. And I just find it to be destructive and unfair and something that really shouldn't be done. And the best environments I've ever worked have been the ones where it was hostile towards office politics. And with online teaching, there's just less opportunity for people to practice that stuff. So that's a good advantage. But you just can't leave it as easily as you can any daytime 9 to 5 or shift type job. The whistle never blows and everybody leaves the mill. And it's also good if you're a self-starter. You may have noticed my t-shirt here. It says, "I'm not antisocial, I'm pro-solitude." That's kind of a mission statement for me. I like working by myself. I don't like the artificial teams. I don't like having to rely on other people. If something's going to get done, I'm going to do it. And I like working from home because, after all, I'm paying the mortgage, all my stuff is here, so's my dog. I like the company. My teaching assistant, Dudley, is apparently downstairs sleeping off chasing deer last night, but yeah, he's my best friend and I see him at work every day. And that's good. You save money on commuting. You're not paying for parking. I think over 8.5 years that I worked downtown Pittsburgh, I paid over $6,000 in parking, and it would be a lot more now because of inflation. I haven't worked downtown. Well, I didn't work. I stopped working for the First National Bank of Evil in 2005. 20 years, I know that parking has gone up, even parking in outlying lots like I did. It's going to be expensive. You don't have that when you're working from home. You don't have that if you're, you don't have paying for gas. Wear and tear in your car is much easier. It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot easier. My commute really is from my bedroom across the hall to my home office here, sometimes downstairs to my game room, where I keep my laptop usually. And of course, Dudley following me around the whole time. It's unusual. I don't see him here. So, yeah, that's a better environment. You don't have the politics. You have the solitude. And if you really are antisocial, this is the career for you. That you can take what would be a vice and a handicap in an open office or any sort of regular standard day job, you can turn that into a major advantage, and it can be an attraction. I like this just fine. I hope this is the career that I have until I either die or I retire, whichever comes first. Now, if my late father, who would have been 100 next month, he's an example, death will probably come first. He actually worked from home, but he worked until half an hour after he was dead. I don't want to go out that way, but probably will. And if it happens, I'll be at home. Nobody's going to have to haul my dead butt out of the office with my hand and my foot sticking out from underneath the body bag. So maybe there's a little more dignity in that, especially if Dudley learns to call 911 if he sees the big one coming. Red Fox fans and people of a certain age will remember that. So this is why I like online teaching. It's not all happiness and happy, joy. There are challenges that you don't have in the regular classroom, but I think that the advantages outweigh the handicaps. They outweigh the disadvantages. And if you're a self-starter and you're a candidate really from working from home, this is the way to go. And also, too, you have the opportunity to work from other places. I've worked from my mom's house in Raleigh, North Carolina, many times. I've worked from Detroit, New York City, Tampa, all points in between. I even worked in the Netherlands. A little bit of a time difference, but because it's asynchronous, doesn't really matter. The only time I haven't worked have been on airplanes. Thank God for that. But just think of the freedom that you have. That, you can go on vacation. You can travel. You have a lot of personal time that you can use. You can take your laptop and you can have your fun during the day or the night, and at other points during your trip, you can get your work in. The work follows you. Now, some people will hate that, but it has the advantages of offering opportunities to do things and travel according to your schedule and your wishes. Now, we do get a month off from AMU. I usually take mine in the summer, but it's not really time off because I've got to set up classes, and I'm usually working in Arizona during my vacation. But you do get 30 days vacation if you're a full-time faculty member at AMU. You also get free tuition if you want to take any classes, if you're a full-timer. And that's how I got my military history degree, by the way. It was free. There's no way I would have undertaken it if I had to take out loans or otherwise spend money. So the return on investment is extraordinary. I had to pay $100 to get my diploma. That was not covered, but you know what? That's not going to be a problem for me. I think they've raised the price since then, but you're not going to go bankrupt at graduation. If you're a part-timer, you're an adjunct, or you're the spouse of a full-timer, then tuition is half price. So you have benefits there. You can actually build your marketability and your skill set on their dime, which is good. I think the educational benefit is one of the best that I've been offered, and it's one that I really took advantage of, and I don't think enough people do. If you're a full-time professor and you can find the time, take courses. It counts towards your continuing education and possibly towards another degree and definitely towards your skill set. So it's there just for the taking. And even the worst bosses I have ever had were encouraging and were ready to sign off on online classes, the free online classes, readily. I have problems with one or two, not over this. And I do think now that the leadership situation in my department at AMU is far better. I like my boss. I got problems with authority figures and such, but we get along great. I respect them. I respect my colleagues. That all of them, by the way, and that is something I don't think I've been able to say very often in all the other careers that I've had. Um, there's always one jagoff in there at least, and he's usually in charge. Not in my current situation. I like them all just fine, and they do have my respect, which is a lot tougher to get than saying I like them. Respect comes. That takes time and effort, and it doesn't come free. So, yeah, it's a good career for me. I like my employers. I like my colleagues. Um, I wish I got paid more, but I think we all say that. So that's just a little bit of insight into my online experiences. And I really hope I stay here for years. I don't see myself retiring or even being able to retire anytime soon. That's something I really got to work on. Maybe take a third job, that'd be tough. I mean, my energy level isn't getting any better as I get older. I'm 64 now, which is pretty good considering at one point I didn't think I'd live past 30. Not because of health at the time, but because of bad habits and poor judgment. But yeah, I'm doing better, but I would like the opportunity to do better than my dad and actually retire. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I'm just not in the position for that. But otherwise, it's not bad work. Now, if you have to be in an office, you need a regimented schedule. You have to have people physically around you. You thrive on stress and pressure and all the stuff that comes with being in an office. You like office politics. You enjoy competing with other people to kiss butt. Stay away. Don't ruin our thing, and you're not going to be happy here. There's too much freedom to get in the way of your personality. Too much freedom to go with to oppose your desire for structure and authority. You're not an ideal candidate. Further, just because you're really good in a standard classroom doesn't mean that you're going to be really good in the online field. And vice versa. They're connected but separate skill sets. I think I've gone through a lot of this. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I haven't gone over is the fact that in the standard classroom, you write your lesson plans, you do your lessons. This is all on you. In the online classroom, this is usually already done, and you build on that framework. A lot of people can't build on that framework. Some people don't have the technical ability to deal with learning management systems, although they're getting so much more user-friendly now that I think that impediment is generally declining. But just think to yourself whether you'd be a fit working alone with minimal supervision, no big boss staring over your shoulder all the time. You have your solitude. If you're antisocial, you got that too. If you prefer your dog's company to that of some people you've worked with, this is for you. So I hope that you enjoyed this and maybe learned something. And as always, please feel free to like, subscribe to my channel, and share with your friends. If you think somebody's going to be interested, send it to them, repost, share. I'm not doing this to hide under a bushel basket. Um, but yeah, this is just what I've experienced over the past 17 years, my reactions to it, which are generally positive, and I think they may be positive for other people who, when they see opportunities to get into the field, they should take them. So, thank you again for your time, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.